Hi, it's Bob Shea with Devices for the Disabled, and I am fortunate enough today to be here with my good friend Coretta. We have become very good friends.
Devices for the Disabled, yes.
Well,
I'm so honored to be your friend because you are a friend to millions. They just don't know it all yet.
Well,
yes.
And you know, that's our at Devices for the Disabled. It's our way of saying thank you.
Yes.
So, and the good news is, Coretta, being my good friend, has agreed to become the ambassador for Devices for the Disabled.
I'm so honored. That's an honor.
Well, tell us why you decided to become our ambassador.
Well, because I want to see this go national. I really do. And I don't know if, because I want to see it go national, that that's going to make a tremendous difference, but because I believe in, first of all, in God, then in what you do, I believe it's going to be, because the need is so great. And the poor that are disabled have very few resources that they even know about. And the ones that do know, they are not really fitted, for them, so they take whatever they can get, if they can get anything. But the fact that you have created an oasis in a desert of despair and anger and fear and frustration for the bound, that is a God-ordained move. And I believe people from coast to coast need to know about it.
Oh, and I do have to let you in on a little secret. The first time I met Coretta, she was at our center. She waved me over, said lean down, and when I did, she just said, God just told me that you're going to be a national nonprofit. So normally the expression is from your lips to God's ears. Well, this was from God's lips to Coretta's ears. So
yes, because I'd never seen you before. That's very true.
So yeah, it was early on when
yeah.
we first met.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I've never forgotten that. And that's our intention. We're going to be a national nonprofit.
I believe it.
And you're going to be our ambassador as we do that.
I would love, even if I'm not there, I want to be the person to say, you can do it. Because so many people, they don't have an idea. They don't even know themselves what they want. And unfortunately, most of the facilities that service people that are poor or low income, they don't have information, nor do they have resources, because they're inundated with what they have to do for those that really want to make a difference. They don't have time to look it up or to find it out, or. So to have a vehicle that every nursing home and every hospital that does a lot of therapy and, care for people that are inundated with all kinds of diseases and sicknesses and, crippling circumstances, would know about devices for the disabled. Can you imagine how wonderful that's going to be? Yeah. I know it was for me, because had you not been where you are and did what you did, you'd never seen me. You didn't know where I wasn't walking, but you didn't know if that was for real or if I did a little walking or what. But I was able to get a bed. Now who would think, well, a bed you can get. No, you can't, not for the disabled. Because there's certain beds we have to have. They may not be fat like me, but they need to have a bed where they can actually move around in. They can get up and down. So many things we take for granted.
It is. You spoke about you being in a wheelchair now.
Yes.
Tell us more about what it meant to you when all of a sudden you found yourself disabled and having to be in a wheelchair.
Let me tell you, first of all, as you can see, I'm a senior. But not only am I a senior, being a senior and handicapped is a double whammy, okay? Unless you're very rich, and very able, both financially and socially, to walk through the raindrops, so to speak. Well, for me, the fact that the wheelchair that I had definitely was not able to service me. Because I'm big, the chair was just, I could get in it, but it was very uncomfortable. Because the iron bars on the side, if I sat there for any length of time, it would crush my skin, crush my hip. And also, I'm not saying it was anything bad about the person who gave it because I didn't have anything. And I was not able to get out of bed without some apparatus like that. So it was a wonder, but it was also an impediment. It did not serve me. And when I would go to doctors, et cetera, and I wasn't able to be serviced as I should have been because I didn't have the right vehicle to move around in. Well, when I met Brother Bob, when I met you and came to the center, and the spirit of it was, what can we do to help you? It was just so, Brother Bob was so awesome. I don't want to cry. But it was so awesome because not only did you said, well, we're going to look around, and Juan, your sidekick, was right there, fussing like he usually does. And he was saying, let me look and see what we got. What do we get? And sure enough, you found one that was so much better than what I had. And if you remember, I almost fell off the Pace vehicle.
Oh.
Remember that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because the ground was tore up. My wheelchair was actually inadequate. And can you imagine me down in that ground and you and the guys trying to pick me up? And I could have been hurt because the holes were in the ground.
Yeah.
But when I left in a vehicle that I could sit in without danger, okay? Not that I really know how to drive real good, but without immediate danger. But the love that allowed it to be for me was just so, it was unimaginable. So I'm so honored to share, and to let people know there are ways where we that are disabled, that are not financially, rich, we have an opportunity to be blessed. Without any, you gotta donate, you gotta give, without any of that. If you have the need, let Brother Bob and Devices for the Disabled know. It is so wonderful.
Well, you bring up a very good point. It's not just a matter of passing out wheelchairs or other
That's right.
medical equipment.
That's right.
We deal with the patient as well as the spirit.
That's right.
Or at least we certainly try our best.
You do.
And I would like you to talk about the day. We had 50 students who were just completing their doctorate in therapy. And they were all in our meeting room and making noise and talking of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you began to speak to them. And for the next hour, you could hear a pin drop in the room as they hung on every word you said, as you told them, not so much what it is clinically or equipment they need to know, but how they need to make people feel. And that's Maya Angelou famously said,
Yes.
people will rarely remember the words you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I have people right now, Brother Bob, in my life that I met in the nursing home, that I met in the hospital, in the therapy centers, that have been in my life ever since. I've been like this since 2013. And in 2013, I couldn't even move an arm. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And they would lift me and roll me and toss me. But the kindness that they did it. Then I also had some that were not so very nice. Okay? But they were what they could be. And I had to make a choice. Was I going to be bitter? Or was I going to try and facilitate services to my fellow patients, and to let them know, listen, while this one may not be doing a good job, there's somebody here that does, and let's find that person and make them feel let them know how grateful we are. That's the way I feel about devices for the disabled. Because that's what it is. And that's what those therapists need to know. It's not just about you're performing a service, you're doing a job, you're being paid, you've got a profession. That's wonderful. But how does it impact the spirit of the person? Because that person may not ever have another opportunity to be whole. But they can be whole inside. And they can share with other patients, with their fellows, their comrades in the same centers and situations that they are, and their family members. You can share with them and let them know, listen, devices for the disabled and the therapists that they work with, there's places that you can be. There are things you can have and do that will help you.
Well, it's part of, we have to feel our own pain before I think we truly understand the pain that other people in. And another time, we had students out front of the center cleaning off equipment. And if you remember, that young woman came up.
Yes,
one of the students. And her brother had been shot and was now in a wheelchair.
Yes.
And she was having to drag him up, they were in a garden apartment, up the stairs. And I said to her, go get your brother and come back. And when they came back, and I said to you, Coretta, come over and say a few words. And all the students gathered to listen to what you had to say. But again, it's because you're in that wheelchair is what allowed you to speak so meaningful to that young man.
He was a fine young man. In the beginning, he was kind of, still steady, But I let him know, first of all, I understand.
Exactly.
I don't have any anger, any frustration. I don't have any condemnation for you. I think you're a fine young man. And there are wonderful things you can do. Now let's talk about it. Because at first, he was not willing, really, to be in the chair.
No.
He really wasn't. He didn't want, but he could not do anything. And he was so frustrated. I think he was in his late teens, wasn't he, Brother Bob?
He was young.
Yeah, he was young. And so I just shared with him what he could be and what he can do, even in a chair, in a wheelchair. You can change the world.
But my friend Ed Kane used to always say, that's a wonderful podium to speak from.
Amen.
And that's what it was.
Amen.
You came up and were speaking to him from that podium. And that,
He really did come alive, though. He did. I was so happy.
all they kept saying was, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes. Finally, all of a sudden, you connected with him, and it was yes, ma'am, kept saying yes, ma'am. But every one of those students who gathered around were listening to any.
That was a wonderful class for the Bob.
And if you ask those kids today, what is it that Coretta said? What were the words? They probably struggle. But if I ask them, how did she make you feel? There would be no hesitation. They would know exactly. And that's what's important, what you brought up earlier, that it's not that we gave that young man a wheelchair.
That's right.
And the only reason he got it is his sister happened to be driving by
That's
and
right.
seeing
That's
those
true.
students cleaning up.
She didn't know what was going on. She really didn't. Yeah.
But he got something much more important.
I agree, so I agree. You know what, Brother Bob, it's amazing you said that. Because I learned that, I was all into, education and freedom fighting and all that, and I still am. But from a different perspective. Because what you do is fine, but what is your motivating factor? What's the foundation of it? You know, God didn't promise you a rose garden. You know, I never in my life, if anybody told me one day you're going to be where you can't walk, and would tell you you're a liar and a fool. I was, you know, I was arrogant and, you know, and felt that I had a right to be because I, you know, I sacrificed myself in other ways. But you can't do that. Because there are too many people that need to know, regardless of what I feel physically or even emotionally, I'm alive. And there's something that I have to give. Because somebody else needs to know that you don't have to vegetate.
Well, you know what? It just the words came to me. You inspired me. But God doesn't promise you a rose garden up front.
That's right.
But you know what? If you roll up your sleeves, you can make it.
Amen. You can make a rose garden.
And that's what it is you
That's
roll
right.
up with that smile and
That's
that
right.
energy, and you made it a rose garden for that
Amen.
young man.
That's right.
That's what was, he got a wheelchair, but what was most
Yes, he did.
important
Yes.
was he got a rose garden.
He did. He really did. You know, I really didn't think about it until you told me. Because I wasn't paying attention. I was so busy trying to get him to feel what I was saying to him. But after you told me, and I remember the look on his face, it was like he came alive. It really did.
It did.
It did, really did.
And his sister,
Yes.
she was so
Yes.
sad and
Yes.
concerned
Yes, she
when
was.
she first came.
She really loved it.
And while you were talking, of course, I was able to look around, and
Mhm.
she was just standing there with a smile on her face.
Yeah, I was so happy for him. You know, he was just bubbling when he left, you know, and I was glad of that. And that's what Devices for the Disabled do. Because while I was the purveyor or spokesperson, but it was the program that provided the opportunity for him to be blessed, encouraged, and really enlightened.
You know, we say that, like that wheelchair, we always say we give people the tools to take their life back.
Yes,
We don't give them their life back.
That's
we
right.
give them the tools
That's
to
right.
take their life back.
that's exactly right.
And I've talked to you about the young girl who on the south side who was shot,
Yeah,
standing in the wrong
yeah.
place at the wrong time. Unfortunately, a story we see all the
All
time.
the time, that's right.
And this young girl, beautiful young girl, and she's now paralyzed from the neck down on a ventilator.
Yes.
Still in the hospital. And yet, she profoundly touches people's lives. She has your smile, she has your energy,
Yes.
and she has your spirituality.
Amen.
And you know, there was a young man who worked at the hospital, and I was there, and all of a sudden he came in the room, and he was like, "Oh, good morning, Tanya," and then he went, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know someone was there." I said, "It's okay, do you need to do something?" And he stopped, he said, "No, I don't have to do anything." He just said, "I like coming in to see her if I'm walking by."
Oh, but isn't that beautiful?
But you see, she took a very
Yes,
dark night in the
Yes.
soul that she had to
Yes.
go through,
yes,
and she's turning it into your rose garden.
yes, into the rose garden. And that's what Devices for the Disabled can do. We can make rose gardens everywhere, and I say we because I'll always be with you till the
Oh, you are.
Okay. But we can make rose gardens everywhere. I see, and I'm going to tell you something. Every church, I'm not saying my denominations, every church, everybody that says they honor God, there's no way the Devices of the Disabled should not be on their list, both to support and to help provide services in their communities. Every church in America. When I go to Kentucky, I plan on going, if the Lord blesses me, and to Louisiana. When I go, I'm taking everything on the Devices for the Disabled. I don't want to hear what you're doing if it's not inclusive for everybody that needs help. Whether they walk, run, fall out, or can't move. Can they breathe? If they're breathing, then you guess what? You can be a blessing to them.
Well, just last week, we had 2 nuns come in. And it's about a young woman in Zambia, in Africa. And her family, she had been in the United States, but had gone back to see her family. And they were in a car accident. Both parents were killed. And she was very seriously injured and lost one of her legs. And these 2 nuns came in because basically they're just not looking to feed people's stomachs.
Right, of course.
But they know I have to feed their stomach before I feed their soul.
Right.
And so they came in and they got a power wheelchair, they got all kinds of equipment, and then they have gone to other people who are going to pay to have it shipped to Africa.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
And so all of a sudden, they said to him, we're going to send pictures of her with a big smile as she goes in her wheelchair. And so again, that's our job, is to give people the tools to make that rose garden.
That's it. That's it. See, that's love. Love is not just words that come out of your mouth. Love is what comes out of your spirit, out of your efforts, about how you breathe. But you're not just what you say, but what do you do? Where's your efforts? If they're not in a place where others can be looked, and you don't have to know them. They don't have to be in your family, they don't have to be in your community, they don't have to be in your particular nationality. All that's that's not important. But they're breathing human beings that need to know. First of all, God made them and loves them. And regardless of how bad they are or how bad they've been, guess what? There's a device to bless your life. Yeah. Devices for the disabled. These are devices to bless lives. Spirit, soul, and body.
Let me ask you, we've been talking about people rarely remember the words, but they always remember how it makes you feel. If I said to you, what is it that devices for the disabled makes you feel? How would you answer that question?
It makes me feel a part of love, a part of provision. Like, to give you an example, I'm going to possibly need a different kind of vehicle. Well, if that time comes, I don't have to worry about where I'm going to get one. But Bob, you never believe the horror I went through just trying to get in a wheelchair. And I was in a nursing home with a whole basement full of wheelchairs. But most of them were broken. And then a lot of them I couldn't fit in. You know what I mean? And then but the devices of the disabled I have an assurance that if I need a bed, if I need a wheelchair, or if I need a toilet, or if I need whatever it is, if they make it for the disabled, somehow you're going to find it. And not just because of me, because it doesn't have to even be for me. You know that. I can call you and say, Brother Bob, I need so-and-so and so-and-so because somebody I know needs so. She said, Coretta, just have them come. And we're going to look for it, and I'm going to see if I can find it. And if it's God, they can get it. What is that but the love of God? To a man that cares, he didn't have to know you. You didn't know me.
No. I do now.
But I loved with what I needed without feeling guilty, without feeling, you know what, too? There's a way of giving that is a love gift. Then there's a way of giving like here.
Mm-hmm.
You can have it. Go on. That's not devices for the disabled.
You know, it's, again, just like you learned from being, and that allowed you to speak to that young man. In my own case, I had a neurological disease and spent a long time in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I always said I went through 3 levels. First, I felt very broken.
Mm-hmm.
Second level was, it's okay to be helped.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs help. But the third level is, when you allow me to help you, you're doing me a favor.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
so every time somebody gets a piece of equipment, and I
Mm-hmm.
know, having been disabled, and I
Right.
still have my issues and I have
Yes.
my limitations, I know what it means. That time in that
Yeah.
wheelchair allowed me to understand that, and therefore them letting me
Right.
help them, they're doing me a favor.
That's
I
right.
always feel the need to give them a hug and say,
Yeah, me too. I love giving hugs. To say, you know what? I care about you. Right? Because I got the guys and the girls and I said, let's hug them, you know. Because that's what it's about. Because we're not just physically disabled. Many times we're emotionally, psychologically, socially disabled. And you know what, Brother Bob? You don't always realize it.
most times
You're right, you don't always realize it. It took this circumstance to show me how much I was not really in tune with the life I said I wanted to promote. You know, but I've learned so much more about how what love is. You know, love is not just sugar and spice and everything nice, but love is a kindness that goes beyond anger, beyond frustration, beyond hatred. It goes beyond that. You know, and it meets a need. Might not be able to meet all the needs at one time, but it meets a need. I think about that young man. You just really, I tell you, you are something. You're a prophet in your own time. That young man, that baby that got shot, you know, and they tore up the car that you got.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tore up the car. You got him a handicapped vehicle so that his parents could drive him and do it because they had no vehicle,
He was 3
no way to
years
do
old.
it. Yeah. He was 3 years old. And you got and then those little gangsters came over and tore it up. Tore the car up. They weren't even related to him. Nothing like that. But they tore it up just out of demonic anger and frustration and all of that. Well, the thing that impressed me most, did you stop? Did you say, oh, I'm so sorry? Well, you know, I'll pray for you. And you did, you prayed for him, but you went to bat for him. You didn't say anything to the mom, nothing, you just took it upon yourself. You went back to try and get him another vehicle, and you did.
We did.
And then through that vehicle, he was able to even move out of that community where the little boy wouldn't even go outside, if I remember correctly. He was afraid to go outside. He was so intimidated by that community. And got him a wonderful place to live. Him, his mom, and his dad. See, that's what I'm talking about.
And you know, the mother, Dominique is her name,
Yes.
said, yeah, all the reporters in the press, they come the day he shot, and then all of a sudden they're all gone. And
Yeah.
You have to live the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I understand that.
Oh, yeah.
And I told her the day we got the second
Mhm.
hand for her, I said, always remember, you're my hero.
That's right.
Because
That's
she
right.
was making a life for that little
And for that little boy, that's right. But you know what? You're her hero. It's like what's the word for that? It's like it constantly rolls. You know, she's the hero both her husband and her son. and to neighbors that haven't even mentioned it.
Right.
And then there's you. And then you're her hero, you're my hero, you're a hero to all the neighbors and even the car dealers that know about you. You know what I'm saying? It's a rippling effect. It doesn't get old, it doesn't get tired, and there's no end.
Yeah, as long as you pass it
That's
on,
right.
it's
That's
never
right.
an
See,
end.
all of those are what? Devices for the disabled.
That's it.
All of those.
And you know what? I have to say, again, thank you, Coretta,
You're welcome.
for agreeing to become our ambassador. I don't
I'm
think
so
you have any doubts as to why I asked her now. She is just beyond being fun and lively. She is a beautiful person.
Thank you, Jesus.
And so, thank you, Coretta, and
You're
thank
so
you for
welcome.
being
You're
our
so
ambassador.
Thank you for being Brother Bob, my Brother Bob.
All right, thank you.